we've been having about the shutdown economy, 27 million people that have lost their jobs due to everything going on with this virus, and fact versus fiction, facts versus fear, whether or not we're actually being told the truth about all of this. And I wanted to bring in someone that is a good friend of mine that actually shared an article from CNN in which CNN has actually finally started admitting that their estimates of the numbers from the virus were way, way, way off, that they were overreacting, that that they predicted these massive numbers and all this chaos and shut down the entire economy. And after 28 million, 29 million people have lost their jobs, they finally realized, oh, sorry, my bad, we made a mistake. So I hope you guys will help me welcome Noma Langamushali Moses. How you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. And Noma Langa is she would fly Nubian Queen and successfulblackwoman.com. And so Noma, I want to ask you this. Let's just start from the beginning. So you shared the article from I think it was Zakia Fareed, I think that's his name, or Zakaria Fareed. I think Fareed Zakaria, that's his name. Fareed Zakaria on CNN, who basically was, I watched the video a couple times. I was kind of in awe because basically this was the first time CNN was actually saying, look, the estimates we made were way off. The number of hospital beds they claimed they would need was way off. That they were, sort of throwing out these big numbers that we're not even going to come close to these numbers with this virus. Tell me about what you saw in that video and what are your thoughts on all that?
I had a very basic conclusion. I asked the question to everybody. I was like, aren't you asking yourself why they grossly exaggerated these numbers? Because they started off saying that they predicted that by now, I wrote it down, about 240,000, more than 240,000 people would be dead from the virus. That's like 250,000 people. And then they redid it, and then they cut that to 80,000. Then they cut it down to 60,000. But the real number, which I checked maybe in the last 24 or 48 hours, is only 36,000. Now, that's terrible. But the other question that comes into play is that of the 36,000, are they actually all coronavirus deaths? Because there's been too many reports that say, I was actually watching a video from another doctor based in the United States who said they all got memos that told them that when people die in the hospitals, they should say that they died of corona. Mm-hmm. And he just happens to be a doctor who was saying, no, I'm not doing that. And then he made a video and said, look, they told us to do this and I'm not doing this because my integrity is more important. And I don't care if I get ostracized or whatever happens. I'm not doing that. Yeah. So that was basically the gist of what I got from it, was why are they exaggerating so much?
Well, what's funny too is I talked to some doctors as well. I had a lot of people mad at me, but I just said, no, if I see facts that dispute what's being told to you in media, I'm not going with the flow. I'm not going with a Democratic narrative or Republican narrative. I want to go with the truth. And it got my attention when I talked to a pathologist who does autopsies. And, they sign a lot of death certificates and they list causes of death. And she also told me that like a running joke was that everybody who dies for whatever reason, you just put corona on the death certificate, oh, he got hit by a car today. Oh, it was corona, Yeah. And a lot of times it seemed that they weren't making the distinction between dying with corona and dying of corona,
right.
And that's in that. And it made me sad, actually, when they finally came out and admitted that the numbers were not as strong as they said they were, because now it only adds more fuel to all the deeper conspiracy theories that are out there. I mean, I watched, a couple videos that really went deep into, what the cell phones are doing to us and vaccines and Bill Gates. And I mean, there's a lot of that stuff out there too. And I don't know. I mean, I don't put it past them. I don't put any conspiracy past them. But I don't buy into every conspiracy just because you say it or just because it sounds good. They all sound good. They're all compelling. It's like meeting a pretty woman, out in the street. Like, just because she's pretty and seems like a nice lady, that doesn't mean that she's somebody you should date. So conspiracy theories are the same way. They're just very attractive and compelling. Like, ooh, now that makes sense. But I can't do that. And so So I hated the fact that they were lying, but my gut instinct from the beginning, the very beginning, you go back and watch my videos from the very beginning, I said, something ain't right here. What are your thoughts on that, Norman?
Yeah, definitely you can go down the rabbit hole of the conspiracy theories. But you know, every time I hear a conspiracy theory and I think about, you know, the American system of white supremacy, I always remind myself that that is a group of people that used to take little black babies and throw them at crocodiles for entertainment. So sometimes that shakes me into, okay, maybe what I'm hearing I shouldn't dismiss, right? But at the same time, again, you can't go down the rabbit hole every single time. One of the doctors that I listened to, I really should share his name, I don't remember it. One of the things that he said was, you know, there was also this 5G conspiracy that I actually never listened to until he spoke about it, because he made sense. He said, look, 5G is not giving us corona.
Oh, by the
But
way,
we have
don't say that. If you say that in a
word.
video, YouTube will ban the video. Did you know that?
Right. Yes, I'm sorry.
No,
Because even when I was listening to it, it was going beep, beep. Then after
yep.
a while, I was thinking, what are they beeping out?
Yeah,
So
anytime you
yeah.
mention it, they totally banned those videos, just so you know. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that technology, let me call it that technology, apparently is what is one of the conspiracy theories, and that's probably why it's being banned, is because it's become such a strong conspiracy theory. And he said, well, look, that technology is not causing this virus at all. But what's happening is it's such a strong, it causes such strong airwaves that there is some correlation to maybe it weakening the immune system of a person and making them more susceptible. So it is a conspiracy theory to say, yes, they're putting up these polls for this technology and it's giving us corona. No, it's not that direct. Just in the same way that a company can have a plant and then the plant leaks their chemicals into the water and then everybody in that community gets cancer. They weren't trying to give everybody cancer they were doing something else that inadvertently caused that. So basically that was it. But again, he's another person who said that they were exaggerating these numbers, and he went into a lot of detail about, you know, biological warfare and all these other things. So there's a lot of theories. Some of them are conspiracy theories, but we can still definitively say that there was an effort to exaggerate the spread of this virus and the seriousness of this virus right from the beginning. And now it's becoming apparent that it's not going to happen the way that they said it was going to happen. So a lot of places are dialing back what they said.
Mm. Yeah. By the way, everybody, I'm speaking with Nomalanga Mushali Moses, and we're talking about the changes in the estimates in virus mortality, things like that. Fareed Zakaria on CNN just did a video in which basically he actually made a statement at one point in the video where he says that a lot of experts now believe that that virus is not any more deadly than the seasonal flu. And that blew my mind when he got to that point. Now, is that true? I don't know. I think that they still don't have all the data they need, but it certainly isn't anywhere near the doom and gloom scenario that they laid out. Now, here's what is interesting to me. You know, whenever we talk about it, usually somebody will say, well, it's easy for you to say that because you're not on the front lines. You're not seeing the people dying. I'm seeing the people that are dying. And I say, look, my heart goes out to the people that you know who died. But, you know, are you equally sensitive when people are dying from the flu? Because, you know, right now, more people have died from the seasonal flu than have died from this virus, at least in the United States at this point. Hopefully that'll never change. But more people have died from the seasonal flu. And I don't see you, you know, crying, you know, crocodile tears on your Instagram. I don't see you, you know, claiming that we're in a state of emergency. I don't see you freaking out and feeling like everybody has to wear a mask everywhere, you know, and that I didn't even count all the other preventable causes of death. You know, 1 in 6 people dies from heart disease. Like when you eventually die, heart disease usually takes you out. So the numbers for heart disease are like 20 times greater than the numbers from, you know, from this virus. And a lot of what happens with heart disease, especially for Black people, is very preventable. You know, the diabetes and the obesity, you know, when everybody's celebrating Lizzo because she makes everybody think it's cool to be fat. No one's out here saying, oh my God, you're killing people. You're killing your people when you do this. Nobody's out, you know. So I just say, you know, get out of here with that nonsense. You know, take that crap and shove it up. You know, like seriously, like how are you gonna how are you gonna tell me I don't care about human life because I'm calling out or I'm citing facts on this virus, but yet you said nothing when you had people like, for example, Lizzo promoting obesity, which we know has proven to kill millions of Black people. So what is your let me ask you this, Normaliga. Tell me about Africa. You live in Botswana, and there was a lot of talk about a lot of doom and gloom predictions that it was just going to wipe Africa out. And hundreds of thousands of people in Africa were going to die and everything else. So how many cases of corona and how many deaths of corona have you had in Botswana, for example, in your home country?
So Botswana is not a great example, but I will say it anyway. We only have about 2.2, maybe 2.4 million people in Botswana, and as of today, I think 20 people have it, and that's
but remember 2.4 million. I think that makes you about the fourth of the size of New York City, right?
Right.
And New York City's had, I think,
yeah, still a decent population. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
New York's had thousands of deaths, right?
And only one person has passed away, and they did cite it as a corona death, but at the same time, it was an elder lady with other disease and other complications, so we can't 100% say that's what killed her. But also there have been, I think, maybe over 3,500 people tested, and of those, only 20 have been positive. None have died, they don't say that anybody has recovered, but nobody has died. So here in Botswana, there's a lockdown, a 28-day lockdown, and we're in a state of emergency. And hopefully that will do. Now, I do want to say that my stance is if you're on lockdown or told to stay home, even though we know that there's a lot of exaggeration, we also don't know enough to know exactly what's going on. And like I said, I'm always cognizant of the fact that people will throw Black babies at crocodiles for fun. So you don't know what else they'll do to make you stay home. You don't know what'll be sprayed in the air to exaggerate the numbers or to make a case for corona, or we just don't know enough. So I still have the stance that if you're told it's a lockdown, you're told to wear a mask, you're told to stay home, do that and be on the safe side.
I'm
but
not
at the
wearing
same
a mask.
time,
I
do when I go to the grocery store. I do.
I'm gonna tell you the truth, Norma. I'm not wearing a mask, and I'm not staying home. Me and Alicia are going to take a trip. We already decided we're going to go visit California in about 2 weeks. I don't care.
And
And
that's a personal choice. But my stance is that we should stay on the safe side, right? Because another thing is, I have parents that are older, and apparently once you hit 65, you're more susceptible to corona, but you're also more susceptible to flu. You also, whatever is out there, you're more susceptible to it as your immune system weakens. So I don't want to put myself in the position where I would get corona, flu, or whatever it is, and bring it back to an elderly parent or a pregnant woman or a small child or whatever it is, whoever it is has a weakened immune system. So that's just an element of, being a good citizen. But I will say, I'm not buying it. And I'm seeing a lot of these models, boys, where they're saying, just like how they said 240,000 people would be dead by now in the United States. And it barely hit a tenth of that number, right? They're saying the same thing. They're making the same predictions about African countries. They're saying in Africa, this many people will die, this many people will be infected. And then there was also talks about a vaccine being tested in several African countries. And it can only make sense if a lot of people have the virus, and people just don't have it. So they have to make up these models and say that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Noma, when you sent me the video, I was astonished that CNN was finally, that somebody on CNN was finally admitting that the numbers were nowhere near the original predictions.
They didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice. It was apparent.
I think that what's happening politically is they're covering their asses now. They're covering their asses because they had people from the beginning that said something doesn't add up. You're not being honest with the American public. And you had weird things happen in media, like with CBS, where they showed a hospital and they were like, oh, this hospital is filled with all these patients. And then someone pointed out, they were like, this hospital's in Italy. This isn't even in the US.
And then they try to say that was in New York City.
Yeah.
Yes, and they use the same footage in like 3-4 different countries. But it was, you could zoom in and see that it's the exact same hospital. And then they said, well, look here in Italy, look here in New York, and look here, here, and here. And then somebody pointed out that, no, actually, that's the exact same hospital that you're showing and pretending is another place full of people. It was actually an emergency room.
Yeah, sometimes with media, the tail wags the dog. You know, they have a narrative that they want to pursue, and they find any evidence that will pursue that narrative. That's what, in statistics, when we used to do research, that was actually a damn near a crime for a scholar to do that in research, is that's what they call selection bias. Selection bias is basically where you just decide in advance what you want the answer to be. You decide in advance that this is how it's going to go. So any evidence that supports your claim, you grab onto it. Any evidence that denies your claim, you reject it. Almost like a prosecutor who's looking to, you know, in their mind, you're guilty. I'm going to prove you're guilty. So I'm not interested as a prosecutor in any evidence that's going to exonerate you. I will only present evidence that will make you look guilty because I decided in advance that you're going to be guilty. So I believe the media did the same thing. The media came in and said, whether you're Fox or CNN, because Fox, you know, kind of had their own spin, and we know what Fox does. But with CNN, it was like, we need this to be a Holocaust. We need this to be a scary thing. And the numbers didn't support that. The numbers never supported that. You know, people can just say, oh, yeah, it's scary out here, blah, blah, blah. Well, you need to go. I mean, people, when they say that, I'm like, I don't think you're looking at the numbers because you don't have data to back up what you're saying. You have stories. Media is good at giving you stories. You can always get a story of one person. That I can give you a story of a 9-year-old where a piano fell on their head, but that doesn't mean that there are millions of 9-year-olds with pianos falling on their heads, right? So stop giving stories and start giving data, start looking at the data and the information. And I'm gonna tell you here's one thing that really got me, you know, in the beginning, because, you know, I happen to live with another college professor. So we were always overthinking everything. So we saw in the beginning,
fun.
Right. That's just what we do. But, you know, we were watching. I remember we were kind of worried. Like when we saw that the thing was kind of getting out of control, we immediately both came home. And as we said, let's fly home. Let's cancel our trips. We're just going to camp out in the house until we figure out what's going on. So we started seeing celebrities announcing that they had corona. You know, you started the guy from the Utah Jazz, and then you had Tom Hanks and Rita Hayworth, and then you had Idris Elba. Yeah, and the list went on and on and on. And every single day there would be a headline. It wouldn't be data. It would be a story. Every time it was always a story. Remember, media makes their money from telling a story. So the story would be, oh my God, this famous person got corona. The next day, oh, so-and-so got corona, right? Now, here's the thing. A lot of people, when they saw that, they were like, oh my God, it was like a death sentence. You know, like when back in the day when somebody had like HIV or AIDS, you were like, oh my God, let's start planning their funeral, right? Like, even though Magic Johnson's still running, Magic Johnson's gonna be around after all of us are gone, you know. But that's what it's like. Like, it's like, dun, 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 he got corona. Or a pastor had church services, you know, despite the warning, and now 20 people in his congregation have corona. Dun, 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 right?
But boys, can I just interrupt, point out that they're getting it, but they're not dying from it.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. It's like, okay, finish the damn story then. If you're gonna start the story, finish the story. Did you die though? You know, like to say, but did you die though? So I'm watching Idris and I'm like, man, Idris has corona. This could be serious. And Idris is like, it was a rough couple of days, guys. I sniffled a lot, and you know, and it was pretty tough, and didn't have to go to the hospital. You know, was perfectly fine. Was able to do, you know, Instagram videos. I said, okay.
And lockdown with his wife.
Right. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, God bless Idris. It looks like he's okay. Tom Hanks and Rita Hayworth. Hey guys. We just want to let you guys know we thank you for all your prayers and well wishes. And Rita and I are just really we're doing great here in quarantine. We feel great. And the list went on and on and on. We kept seeing all these celebrities that had it and announcing that they had it, like literally calling their publicists, like, okay, I got corona. Tell everybody I got it because I'll be on the headlines because that's how they make their money is by being in the headlines, right? So, and they announce it and they scare the hell out of everybody, and all of them were fine. People cannot name one single A-list celebrity who had corona and died. No, not one single A-list celebrity. I'm not talking about, like, I think somebody mentioned the mother of an NBA player, and God rest her soul. I don't want anybody's mama to die, right? But she's an older woman, and you don't know what pre-existing conditions she had. That's all people could say was, well, the NBA player, Karl Anthony Towns, his mother died. Is that all you got? Because really, if this epidemic was as serious as people are saying, you should be like Idris Elba died. I don't know. Barack Obama died. Right. Because you got all these. Because here's the thing about famous people, and I'm gonna stop talking because I want you to talk now. Famous people shake a lot of hands. They hug a lot of people. They're in a lot of people's spaces, and I'm not even that famous, but when I go places, I shake hundreds and hundreds of hands. So Alicia and I were worried about that. I was worried, like, God, I don't want to infect my family. I'm going to go home and self-quarantine. I'm going to wash my hands and all that. So you should have, if this virus was serious, this was my first warning sign that something wasn't adding up. Was I said, with the fact that every single celebrity, everywhere they go, everybody's shaking their hand. If this virus is as serious as people say, you're going to have at least 4 or 5 dead A-list celebrities per week. That's what you need to have. You did not have one. Everybody was, they had a couple of symptoms. They coughed for a couple of days, and they were better within 3 or 4 days. That's what I knew. I said, I told Alicia, I said, this is some BS. They're playing with our heads right now. But go ahead, Nomalanga. I thank you for letting me say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, that was the first thing that I noticed is they kept saying so and so has it, so and so has it, and like you said, nobody had it serious enough that you even heard that they were in ICU or anything like that, let alone died. They all recovered. Sometimes it takes longer. And then there's also this new narrative that it is affecting Black people disproportionately. And that's why we should take it more seriously than everybody else. But unfortunately, everything affects Black people disproportionately. It's diabetes, it's heart disease, like you said. I just can't think of other things off the top of my head. I remember
obesity, all that stuff.
Yeah, everything affects Black people disproportionately, and of course, it's because of the disparity in wealth. I remember some time ago, somebody was talking about poverty and how it can affect a person, and they talked about how a person started out with a cavity, and then the cavity infected went into their bloodstream and they ended up having a stroke or whatever. But all it was is they had a little cavity. They just didn't have the money to go to the dentist and take care of the cavity, and because they're too poor. And then it just, it causes other problems that cause other problems, and it compounds until they have a really big problem. So the wealth gap between Black people and white people is something that we all know about. So if something comes in and affects people, it's going to affect Black people disproportionately. That's just how it works. And I'm not saying we shouldn't take it seriously, because like I said, my stance is if you're told to lock down, just be on the safe side so that you don't regret that you infected somebody who was more vulnerable just because you felt like you weren't vulnerable.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I've never felt that, it would make sense to be reckless with something that could be potentially dangerous. Just like when you get the seasonal flu, you shouldn't be coughing and sneezing on people, especially senior citizens, because they're more vulnerable
Right.
than you are, right? And when you go down the list of all the preventable causes of death, I would say to everybody who's hypersensitive about the corona thing, I would just say to you, where were you when Black people are dying from all the other things that are killing us? Like seriously, like, I mean, you're so sensitive right now. I saw Diddy did that whole state of emergency panel, and he's like, oh my God, it's an emergency. Black people dying from corona. And I'm like, okay, you're talking about maybe a few thousand, maybe, and it's not insignificant, maybe 5,000, 10,000 people, maybe more. I don't know what the exact total numbers are. But, I could go over here and show you 100,000 that died from obesity, and you didn't say a word. All I saw was, I just still remember that Lizzo conversation we had a couple, months ago, and you saw how the media just vilified me as some, angry.
Oh, they do it to me too, because I'm pretty blatant about the fat thing.
Yeah,
I'm like, look, rather than fight me about being fat, just go lose some weight. I mean, really.
yeah, yeah. You know what? You did. I remember you pointed that out a bunch of times. You know, like,
Yeah.
just
And they attacked me too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm sitting there saying, like, you're not serious. You're not serious. Everybody who claims to be sensitive to the people dying from corona, you're not serious. You're not serious, because if you were serious about saving lives, you wouldn't go over the corona bill and try to save 3,000 lives. You'd be over in diabetesville saving 300,000 lives. You know, you'd be over in heart disease and hypertensionville saving another 500,000 lives. If you were serious about saving lives, you would be saving lives. You're not. What you're doing is you are jumping on a bandwagon. You are not just allowing fear to drive your decision making, but you're also allowing what's trendy to drive your attention. Right now, corona is trendy. That's the most famous virus out here now, and now everybody's all concerned about corona. And it's almost hilarious to me, because 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we could have asked these very same people to get together to prevent, the diabetes and heart disease and strokes and all cancers, whatever else is affecting Black people from the food we eat and the choices we make. And those people never would have shown up. So stop pretending. Just stop it. You look stupid right now. Just let's look at the honest facts. And here's what we got to understand too. And I'll say this and I'll let you get the last word. 30, almost 30 million people have now lost their jobs. The entire economy shut down. That does not mean that corporations are the only ones suffering. The millionaires who run corporations, that they've got backup plans. They've got lines of credit. They've got wealth, stashed away. They've got, real estate holdings they can sell. They've got stocks and bonds in the market. They've got other businesses they can lean on. They've got transferable skills where they can start a business in another area. A lot of people that are working day to day, living off that paycheck, have lost their jobs because they created an artificial panic. They created this crazy scenario where somehow somebody concluded that because of this virus that only pretty much mostly attacks really old people, 85 and up, or people with a lot of pre-existing conditions, that they decided, let's just keep everybody home. Let's just shut down the whole earth, and the whole economy, and let's starve people to death so that we can get our, I really think the politicians have that saying that says, never waste a good crisis, and if you go and you look at the bill, if you look at the legislation, again, everybody who doesn't like what we're saying here, go look at facts. Stop relying on emotion. There's actually these interesting little provisions they slid in there where they found out, I don't know if you saw this, they found out that wealthy people, 43,000 millionaires, are going to get stimulus checks for $1.7 million. Did you hear about that?
I saw that. I saw the article you posted just now.
Yeah, yeah. So millionaires are going to make out like fat rats from this legislation. Whenever they pass that much money through the economy, whenever they're like, oh yeah, we're going to write a check for $2 trillion, just know the hustlers are always going to find their way to the front of the line. Like they're all, they didn't become millionaires just because somebody gave them money. Some of them did, but the self-made millionaires are millionaires because when they see money, they know how to run and go grab it, right? So they made sure that in this legislation that they were taking care of themselves along with taking care of everybody else. And this so-called paycheck protection crap, it's not protecting paychecks. A lot of businesses can't even get access to the money. The money ran out. The money ran out in about a week. And I know people, who are like, okay, how am I supposed to sit at home for the rest of the year with $1,200? And now you're telling me that this thing wasn't as bad as it was, as you said it was. I personally would be livid. I'm just blessed where, you and I both, and we're blessed where we don't live paycheck to paycheck. So I'm okay. I was already sitting at home anyway. I didn't go out before this.
Me too, yeah.
Right, and I'm still going to be doing this. So so my family's good, but I'm really thinking about all those families that have rent. You're paying $2,000 a month in rent or $1,500 a month in rent, and you get one check for $1,200, and that's supposed to be okay? No, I personally think I think people should be protesting and demanding facts, information, like, okay, exactly what happened? How did you get it wrong? You know, why were you lying to us in the
And
first place?
demanding money that they lost. Yeah.
And demanding money, and somebody should pay. Somebody should pay. Go ahead, Noma. Thank you for. I talk too much.
The other thing that I was going to say when you started talking about the economy was that I started to watch another video by a man named Dr. Shiva, and he was talking about two things. And he said, sometimes what happens in the economy is that just saying that it's going to crash is what makes it crash, even if it was not going to crash. The panic and the way people respond. And he was drawing this parallel, and he said, even with your health, when there's a high level of anxiety, stress, you're not sleeping, you don't know how you're going to pay your bill. All of those things are things that I think he said they raise the cortisol in your body, they weaken your immune system. And yeah, actually you do become more susceptible to not just corona, but whatever else is floating out there. So it's almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy. So now you have these two things literally happening at the same time. They're saying you're all going to get sick. You all can't come out. You all have to stay home. And then it starts to be true because they said it. And the same thing will happen in the economy where they say, you know, this is going to happen, and it will happen because they said it was going to happen. But at the end of the day, when you really look and try to get to the bottom of it, it wasn't really that it organically happened. It was just saying something and then causing all that confusion and all that panic that created it. And yes, I do think that somebody has to be accountable for that.
Yeah, and let's not forget about all the people who could not get medical attention because they were saying oh my God, we're gonna need. I think in New York, I could have sworn that they Zachariah Fareed. Everybody should go watch the CNN commentary about Fareed Zachariah. I keep getting his name wrong. Fareed Zachariah did. Just go listen to his commentary, and he talked about how New York had said we're gonna need, like, I forgot how many thousands of hospital beds. I could have sworn it was like 50,000 hospital beds, and they only ended up needing like 15,000.
And the rest were empty.
Yeah, and the rest were empty. And you had people that really were sick that needed to go to the doctor, that needed to go to the hospital, that stayed home because they were afraid of getting the virus, or they felt that all the resources would be used up. You know, I mean, how many of those people died? You know, like I think that I'd like to see all that data. I like data. I like information. I like facts. I don't like all this spin. You know, it really bothered me that all my, Democratic Party friends just really swore that this was the next Holocaust, that we were all going to die. And then my conservative friends, were giving me, these hoax, all these conspiracy theories, like, I'm not, and I listen to it all because there's elements of truth in everything, right? Both sides have a point, right? But I think that, smart people should notice how the Democrats are really good at pointing out the flaws of the Republicans, but they can't see the flaws that they have themselves. And the Republicans are really good at pointing out the flaws of the Democrats. If you listen to a Candace Owens, she can tell you all day why the Democrats are a bunch of slave masters, but then she'll turn around and somehow say voting for Trump is the answer. And we know that ain't no damn answer. Come on now. Yeah, right. But so I think that it's not. We just don't live in a good world. And I think that this whole environment was a great case study of just how ridiculous people can become when you're feeding a bunch of misinformation into the economy and people are buying into that. So, Noma, I want to say thank you for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for putting up with the fact that I was talking so much. I apologize.
Can I just make one more shameless plug? I think I just turned off my lamp by mistake.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead. Make your shameless plug, girl. Do me a favor, everybody. If you're watching anywhere online, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and see you guys on Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. So follow me on Instagram. Twitter, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. Noma, what is your shameless plug?
It's actually not even for me, but I always want to mention our charity in Botswana. It's called Pads for Our Girls. You know, we're still collecting donations, and when we open back up, we will continue our work. We started the charity to support young girls who can't go to school when they're on their periods because they're too poor to buy sanitary supplies. So we collect pads if you're able to give us pads. If you can't, you can donate in kind. You can go to padsforourgirls.com, and we always appreciate any donations of any amount. Thank you.
All right. That's padsforourgirls.com, padsforourgirls.com. Also, Nomalanga does, if you're trying to find better ways to homeschool your child, Nomalanga has free homeschool Q&As every week. So you can go to theblackHomeschoolNetwork.com to sign up. That's theblackHomeschoolNetwork.com. And you can actually join the sessions for free. And of course, if you
Thursdays at noon, Eastern Standard Time.
Thursdays at noon Eastern Standard Time. So you can go register now, and then Thursdays at noon Eastern Standard Time, Nomalanga is going to gather everybody and talk about homeschool techniques and bring in guests, and you can get your questions answered. What's your Instagram, Nomalanga?
It's Noma Moses.
Noma Moses. So there you go. Because Lady Sammy Waxy was asking what your Instagram is.
I'm not that active on Instagram, but I do have an Instagram. It's Noma Moses. And also the quick course, if you're transitioning to homeschool, is at theblackHomeschoolGuide.com. It's at the Black Business School, but the link is theblackHomeschoolGuide.com.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us. Thank you for listening to our point of view. You know, if you go back and you listen to videos we've done on this the last several weeks, you'll see we've been very consistent in our message. It's been data driven as opposed to just driven by opinions. And now it's starting to look like the world is catching up. The world is starting to realize that we're not all going to die, and that we should lean on facts and information as opposed to just letting the media drag you around by your nose. And then that's really what I want to encourage you guys to do. So take care, guys. Have a great day. And thanks for listening. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, give me 1 second, Noma.
Okay.
We are